Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Very interesting article coming from an Ukrainian source and talking about defense minister who provides some insight in when exactly the war will end. They all say it will end before October or something. Now, this guy has a little take on things. So this article comes from Ukrainska Pravda from September 10th, 2022. Ukraine's defense minister announces forecast for end of war. Phew. Hold your horses and brace yourselves. A few more victories and Russians will run away. Although Ukraine's defense minister Oleksiy Reznikov, that's one of the three Jewish Ukrainian handlers, Zhmihal, Zelensky, and Reznikov, hesitates to predict when the war will end. He is also convinced that after a few more small Ukrainian victories, the Russians will begin to flee. Okay, not impossible. Source Reznikov in an interview for RBC Ukraine news agency. Well, regarding whether Ukrainians would have to fight for a long time, the minister said, "As it happens, I have a different feeling." Oh, he goes by feelings. "I'm convinced that after a few more successes at the front, even small victories, the Russian troops will start fleeing, and they, the victories, will come, believe me, because today we have been destroying their supply chains, warehouses, and so on." But they didn't. They did. You don't have supply chains and you don't have warehouses. And the question will arise, where should they go? And the morale, it will be like an avalanche, with each line of defense falling one after the other. End quote. Now, what Mr. Reznikov says is true in general. Yes, it's that happens in individual psychology and mass psychology. That's true. If you just start having defeats here and there, even small ones, and you are already engaged in a prolonged war, which this could be considered. Imagine that you are in the front over there, and you fight for 6 months. It's already a long time, instead of being home and watching TV or whatever else you do. Then you will be saying, "Oh my God, these guys are coming. Why in the hell am I here?" So all kind of thoughts start coming if they're not there already, and indeed you lose, strength and the mental stability, and you flee. That's a normal reaction, fight versus flight. And in this case, you leave because of the situation where you can't argue for staying around, and you see the other person coming. But I don't think that's the case, Reznikov. That's my opinion. And I wouldn't say opinion, but this is what I read out of everything that I'm reading, is coming only from some Ukrainians. Yes, they have some successes here and there. It's true, yes, they, according to Ukrainians, they liberated this town, that town, that town. But everywhere else, the Russians are still pounding with tanks and artillery and airplanes and UAVs and all so on. So it's not like the Russians are right now questioning themselves. I don't know the morale, but yes, as a psychological reaction, that would be, if you lose, but I don't know. It's just too many unknowns to determine that, but as a general statement, it's true. Details. Reznikov added that Ukrainians have already seen how the invaders fled Kiev Oblast, Chernihiv Oblast, and Sumy Oblast when the defenders began to kick them out of there. About Kiev, I already said that many times. I don't think they meant to destroy or take Kiev. I didn't see any major offensive on Kiev. They got to Kiev in about 48 hours, right? From Belarus and all that. From there, they came, they encircled it, and they stayed over there for about, a week or two, and then they left. I didn't hear about any major or any major, not major, average fighting between the forces. Like, oh my God, like was Berlin 1945. Nothing like that. Now, why did they come over there? I have no idea. I can't tell you why you came. I mean, the only reason I can find is they try to keep the Ukrainian army divided in at least two operational fronts. One in the east, where obviously the Russians were coming, and the other one waiting for these guys. What are they going to do? I think that could be the only one. I don't think the Russians didn't even try to take Kiev. But as I said, I don't know. Neither do they. But they can talk about it because they can, as I can. He added that Russia had no food left to feed its soldiers and no fuel to refill its tanks because the armed forces of Ukraine had been cutting off their supply chains, and now with the use of high precision artillery and equipment, there is a high chance that this avalanche will come faster. Possible, but I don't know how many you destroyed. You can say all kind of things. You can say you destroyed 3,000 depots and ammunition and food supply chains and all that, but is it true? I have no idea. I have no idea. And if you did it to the Russians, why the Russians are not able to do it to you? And they have, I would say, longer range missiles and the abilities. They have more firepower than you have. Why they weren't, but why you were able, but they were not. I don't have that answer, right? Now I understand Reznikov, he has to say things, but we also have the right to use our brains. According to Reznikov, there are several reasons for such an assessment. First, the world used to perceive the armed forces of Ukraine as a small Soviet army that would resist a larger Soviet army, but in reality everything panned out quite the opposite way. So then the Russians were right about you guys being armed to the teeth, right? And and that was this. You can say, yeah, we have, because it was the Russian threat. That's true. You can have it. You can, how should I put it? Arm yourself how much you want. I'm for that. But if that would be against another country, that would be all. See. Anyway, let's. In addition, Russian soldiers believed that they would take Ukraine in a few days, and the Ukrainians would greet them with flowers, but they were killed here. According to Reznikov, the Russian soldiers have no moral grounds, noting nothing to fight for, while Ukrainians know that they stand for their country, their family, and their land. Ukrainians have no other options but to survive as a nation, country, and people. Led by three guys. Really? Reznikov, Zhmihal, and what's his name? Zelensky. Really? And you are going to provide Ukraine because they can't fight for themselves. They needed the three of you, the Trinity, right? They needed you to save the Ukrainian nation, right? Yeah, okay. It's true what you say. You fight harder for your land and for your nation and so on. But I don't think I would fight harder if I would have three people that are on the payroll of some other people. And you say, well, your interest coincides towards what? My interest towards what? Is like you think that those guys want what's best for you. Well, not always and not necessary. They want their interest. Does it coincide here? Look at you where you are. You're dying. These guys are attacking you. Could have been avoided? Yes, could have been avoided. I think 100%. You had 8 years from 2014 to 2022 to implement those agreements, the Minsk agreements. Remember those ones? But you didn't do that. You didn't do that because maybe those guys had a different interest than you had. So the fact that you are at war with these guys, it was not you defending your country, because you didn't have to be like this. It did not have. So ask yourselves, okay, Russians are the bad dudes. Did I tell you? Did you sign papers? Who prevented you from going and doing what you signed as a country? Wasn't those guys? Was that interest yours, for these guys to attack you? Because you couldn't figure out things in East Ukraine? Now you can say, well, those guys were separatists. Why? Well, because they're just bad. That's the argument. No, it's not because they were just bad. It's because of 2014 overthrowing of a legitimate democratically elected government in Ukraine with the support of those guys. You know how that's called? That's called treason. In the United States right now, democratically elected government. You have the Chinese supporting a group of people here, and these guys will overthrow the government that democratically legitimate of the United States. How would you call these people? This group supported by China. Traitors. And they put their little clique over there. And then let's say Texas, I don't know, let's say Texas, California, 5 states right there in the Southwest. They say, you know what, we don't recognize these guys, these traitors who took over with the help of China. And then these guys in Washington DC, the new guys send the army to destroy those states that do not recognize these guys, the thugs. What are they going to do? Who are those? And those guys fight back. I mean, you see how things go if you just put it in a different perspective. And these are facts. I'm not saying, oh my God, no. It's well known who helped whom and who was democratic elected, who came, who destroyed, who shot, who. They're all known things. It's not me making up stuff. It's available, but they do not mention those. They start the chronology of events whenever they like it, and they leave out whatever works against their statements and their interests. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.